So if anybody has any requests for our practice this afternoon, please go ahead and put that in the chat. The props that I have nearby are yoga blocks, a blanket, and a strap. So if it is comfortable for you to come to a seat on the floor, banana, you'd like to do banana. Okay, I'm not sure what banana is. If you have another name for it, go ahead and put that in there. Otherwise, I'm just imagining a back bend. So if you are comfortable sitting on the floor, you are welcome to sit in any way that works for you. And we'll take a few moments to just find your seat, noticing which foot, which leg you have on top or in front. Let the eyes rest. Taking this time to arrive. We're often very busy, very focused in our head. Take this time to settle in, beginning to observe the body's sensations. Noticing perhaps this inhalation. You might notice you're inhaling through the nose or mouth or a combination of both. Noticing the exhalations. Consider spinning both palms to face up, backs of the hands resting on the lap. And as we continue to breathe, invite small movement into the fingers. And perhaps the toes are still, but maybe we notice that the toes are coming along for the ride. We may take a deeper inhale and exhale, audibly sigh it out. Consider spinning palms again to face down in that more rooting, grounding position. And if you have furniture nearby or maybe a block, you might just put that off to the left side, or maybe there's something off to the left to put your hand on, and I'm mirroring directionally. Stragglers cannot stand a closed door. So we'll plant that left hand down and just invite a little lean. So the shoulder may rise. How does that feel for the body? If sensations kind of go up, maybe we back it off. We're just looking for a comfortable spot. So there's the extreme lean with the shoulder rising. We could temper it, backing off a little bit, just a moderate lean, bending right elbow and raising right arm up in the air. Perhaps movement in the fingers, the head may nod. Maybe we do choose to slide that left hand further out, turning chin over to the left, head maybe nodding. And let's rise back up through the middle, resting at center, perhaps eyes at rest. Feeling breath. Perhaps the body is intuitively moving. And we might be noticing the more subtle sensations, maybe they're not so subtle, that follow that side bend. Maybe there are sensations in right shoulder, right arm, right side body, or elsewhere. Will all be different. And perhaps we move the prop over to the right and just sample reaching that right hand out, and maybe we go for that extreme tip lean just to see how it feels. And then backing off, looking for the spot where it's a little more comfortable. Full breath. And perhaps we're bending that left elbow, raising the left arm. The gaze may rise. We might go for movement in the fingers. Maybe a little nod of the head. And perhaps we're turning the chin over to that second side. We might be sliding out a little further, maybe lowering the prop. Now, if we're going so far that we're holding the breath because that tension is so enhanced, back it off. And then gradually, slowly bringing ourselves back up to center. And maybe there's a little intuitive shift, just a little rock wobble, let the eyes rest. And the body may audibly sigh. We might find some props, place them in front of the knees. Could be directly in front of the knees. It doesn't have to be. Could be wider, could be more narrow. Again, what feels good to you. So we might be tipping in, leaning in. Maybe we're bringing hands or forearms onto the props or the ground. We may support the brow. A chair seat can be a nice prop. We might crisscross the forearms and rest the forehead on the forearms on the chair seat. Let's rise back up, and perhaps we're tipping back and extending the legs. So we might have that residual sensation of the leg we had on top. Maybe we just know which leg we had on top, and let's trade. So we're bringing second leg now on top, sits bones rocking under the shoulders. Spinning palms forward, the arms may rise, the gaze may rise. And as we exhale, rotating, twisting over towards the right. If you went the other way, that's fine. So we might find a little nod of the head, check in with the neck. Inhale, mobilizing back to center. And as we exhale, turn twisting second side. Maybe the head nod gliding. Inhale, moving back to center, thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. And let's bring the fingers forward, starting to circle the wrists. Breathing, noticing, and moving in the second direction. So we're just reversing those wrist circles. Maybe there's some wrist music. And then consider holding opposite elbows. Whichever hand is easiest to rise, the one on top, let that hand reach up in the air. So the hand connected to the other elbow, just open the fingers to make it a little easier to circle the forearm through and around the opening. You can use the elbow as a massage tool. And then trade. So second side. You might be working your elbow a little bit into that meaty thumb pad area. Reverse directions. Let the arms come down. We might have a little heat in the shoulders, maybe a little shift side to side that turns into shoulder rolls. And go the other way, mobilizing shoulders in second direction. We'll bring ourselves back to the middle and consider your forward lean. So we might just be saying hello, check in with the hips, the thighs. Maybe we're grabbing those props and tipping in. Support the brow if you like. Or maybe we're feeling ready for a little more movement. We may be exploring a spinal undulation. Reversing second direction. Let's roll ourselves all the way back up. And as you feel ready, re-extend those legs. Give a little wiggle through the knees. And if you're sitting up on something, consider coming off of it so that you can make your way onto your back body for a few moments. So we'll drop down onto back body and rock both knees into the chest, checking in with that low back. We might open the elbows out to the side, finding those little side to side rocks. Perhaps dust off the soles of the feet while you're here, just so there's no floor debris that might float down into your eyes. Let the legs, the feet rise up towards the ceiling, flex and point, not holding overly long. We're not trying to create cramps, and maybe you switch it up. So one foot is in the dorsiflexion while the other is in the plantar flexion. Let the feet come wide enough apart so that you can twirl the ankles, twirl second direction, and then let the knees bend kind of like we did with the forearms, circle the lower legs, a little different. But go the other way, circle, second direction. And then draw the thighs into the chest. So the thighs are wide, and you're welcome to have hands on the knees if that's helpful. Press the knees out to the side, push the knees forward and pull them together and in. Let them move wide, away, together, and in. Reverse direction, so push the knees together away, take the knees wide, pull them together. So finding those frog circles, we might feel this a little bit more in the hips. Feel free to reverse direction again once we are comfortable with the patterns. And then let the feet land and the knees tip in. Consider hooking the thumbs together and raising the arms overhead. And we may slide right hip up. This does not have to be a hold. And then left. So sliding the hips, shifting side to side. And then invite the right leg to move long. And if there's something down there, your water bottle will block, maybe just slide it out of the way so we're not going to kick it over. Point those right toes up towards the ceiling and give the left toes a tap. So left knee is bent. Peel the left heel up and start to stack that left hip on top of the right. Doesn't have to go all the way there. And just roll back down. Let that left knee drop out to the left. And maybe there's a prop underneath the knee. Maybe we don't want the prop there and we move it. So let's peel that left heel up, rolling that left hip on top of the right. And roll it back. That knee might drop back down towards a log pose, towards a tree out to the left. And let's again peel that hip up. Now left hand might come to the floor in front of the chest. You might keep it overhead and we may be extending that top leg. So you might feel like a banana in this pose. We definitely have some back bend going on. And then very slowly release back down. Let's slide little toe side of right foot up and in, adjust the feet together for a moment. And let the left leg slide long. We'll point the right knee up towards the ceiling. Peel the heel up, starting to stack right hip on top of left or moving in that direction. And we'll slowly come back down, letting that knee drop out to the side. And please take all the time you like. You're welcome to linger longer. We may be peeling that heel up, moving that right hip on top of left. We don't have to go any further. And we may come back down to the ground, letting that knee move out to the side. So when we peel that right heel up again, optionally, we're extending that right leg. So there's a bit of a balance on the side body. Rebending the knee, let the foot come down, slowly rolling back down. Slide the little toe side of the right foot away just far enough that it's comfortable to bring the left foot up to match. And maybe comfortable is a stretch. It might be a pretty big stretch sensation through those inner thighs. Heel toe, feet wide. Let the knees roll up and in. Press into the feet, slide the hips to the left, reach that right leg long. So we're coming to the little toe side of right foot. And again, we're stacking left hip on top of right. Take your time. We may be planting left hand, top hand to the ground and raising that left leg. Very carefully, and we're likely going to roll off the mat. We're slowly rolling all the way over onto the belly. And if you'd like to readjust onto the mat, please do. Let's bring the elbows to the ground under the shoulders. And we may find a little glide side to side. Lengthening front body. Now we may lean to the right and bend the left knee. Finding that left knee bend, and we might find a little motion through the leg. Perhaps we're circling the lower leg around. Let's release, find the middle, and maybe just a little shift, a little smaller shift side to side until you feel ready to side bend, lean more to the left, and that right knee may bend. And perhaps we have a little back and forth movement. We may circle that lower leg and trade direction, go the other way. Still breathing. Release the leg. We'll find our way back to the middle. Invite the brow down to the ground. Elbows are bending. Slide the hands back. Elbows point up. Press into the hands. The chest may rise, the heart may rise. You can keep as much bend in the elbows as you prefer. This shouldn't be painful for the back, so please feel free to back it off, come back down onto forearms if you like. Pressing hips back towards heels. We're moving into a child's pose, so this might be a place to grab a pillow or a block so that the brow has support, so that the neck can find more ease, so that the shoulders may find more ease. You could have your arms fully extended in front of yourself if that is enjoyable. Full breath. And perhaps we very slowly roll from right ear towards left ear. Find a spot in the middle, nodding the head. So that brow stays down. Maybe we're even drawing circles. And as we think about coming up, you may want padding, cushioning for the knees. So we might plug something in underneath the knees. And then reach that right foot back. So we're pitching back through the heel, chin tucking in towards the chest, maybe a nod of the head. Maybe a lot of tension at the back of the leg, but maybe we feel it all the way up into the neck. Releasing right foot, so left foot back. Tucking toes, perhaps chin towards chest. And releasing. We may walk the hands in, tuck the toes, lifting the hips, pedaling into a down face dog position. And you're welcome to stay higher up. You might have your hands on a chair seat or a wall or a counter. We may lean the head a little side to side. And consider taking a walk, kind of a funny walk, slowly, bringing the feet to the hands until we find ourselves in a standing forward bend. So head is heavy, neck is long. Hands could be on props. We may sway the hips a little side to side. Inviting the tension to pour from the neck, from the crown of the head down into the ground. Now we may rock forward and back, rock towards the toes, the heels may rise, lift. We may rock back towards the heels, the toes may lift. Let's find a spot in the middle where we bend the knees, dust off the hands, bring the forearms onto the thighs. And let the hips sink a little lower. Take your time rising up. The arms may rise if you are feeling a little lightheaded. Maybe don't lift the arms and gaze just yet. And then let the arms come all the way down. So let's step the feet in a little closer together, maybe all the way together. Invite the knees to bend. How are the knees feeling with bending and extending? You don't have to go super low. Hands on the thighs or all the way down to the knees. Invite the knees to circle. Trade direction, circle, second direction. And then let's rise back up to stand and bring a little more movement into the hips. We might just start, and we might just stay with a side to side tick-tocking of the hips. But perhaps we circle the hips around. Maybe we pause and start to draw figure eights with the hips. Pause again, reverse direction. And then let's take a walk, and you may already be there up to the top short edge of the mat. Toes fan, step your feet wide enough that you have very spacious toes. Spin the palms to face forward, shoulder blades are moving in. Invite the heart to rise, the gaze may rise. We might be doing a little bit of back bend. And as we exhale, forward fold. Now, sometimes just being vertical can feel like a back bend, so that will be different for each of us. Let's go ahead and walk back towards a dog. And as we wiggle back, glide on forward into a plank, moving through the toes. Let the knees land. Invite yourself back down onto the belly, heart rising, chest rising. And exhale, releasing. Let's slide the hands back, chest rising. Hips move back towards heels, child's pose. We may tent the fingers, rise partway up and walk both hands over to the right. Lifting the ribs a bit up and over the thigh. Feel free to grab a block for the brow. We may pin that left hand down. If we want even more, we might lean or send left hip, left ribs a little more to the left. Bringing ourselves back to the middle, and let's take it to the second side. So if you're using brow support, take that with you. Lift the ribs up and over left thigh. Perhaps we're pinning down that right hand. Perhaps we're leaning the ribs, the hips over towards the right. And let's bring it back to the middle. Have the knees, push the knees if you like. Send that right leg back, tuck the toes, and that left knee into the chest. Step walking, down face dog. Drop the weight into the left foot so that the right leg may rise. Draw the knee to the nose, back is rounding. Inhale, extending. Exhale, rounding. Inhale, extending. Let's draw the knee into the nose, step that right foot forward between the hands. This might be a fine place to, again, consider hands on blocks. So we're finding that lunge position. Maybe a little rock forward, little rock back. And then perhaps we tap, 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 or take one big step to bring left foot alongside right foot, looking out. And exhale, folding in. Rising halfway up, we may walk both hands over to the right. We may be bending right knee, rolling left hip back. Let's bring it back to the middle, rise on up. Consider walking both hands left. Left knee may bend, right hip back. Bring it back to the middle, exhale, pouring in. Let's bend the knees, inhale, circle the arms all the way up. And as we exhale, let the hands drop back down, hands on the hips, elbows back. We might opt to weave the fingers together and extend the arms, standing back bend. Releasing. Palms forward. Circle the arms high, gaze high, and as we exhale, forward fold. Inhale, look up, lengthen. Let's walk it back, perhaps pedaling through the feet. Glide on forward, find that high plank position. We may land on the knees. We may bring those elbows forward, heart rising into Sphinx. And exhale, let it go. Slide the hands back, press back, child's pose. We may creep the fingers a little further forward. As you feel ready, tucking toes, actually we'll come forward into plank. Press back through that left heel. Pull that right knee up and into the chest. We might find that hover position for a moment. And then step it back. Release the right foot. Let that left leg rise. Draw left knee to nose, back is rounding. Inhale, extend. Exhale, round. Inhale, extend. So we may draw that knee into the nose, stepping foot forward between the hands, find your blocks. A little shift forward, little shift back. Hips may rise to make it easier to tap, tap, navigate that right foot forward, looking out. And exhale, tipping in. Bending the knees, circle the arms all the way up. Exhale, thumbs to forehead, thumbs to heart. So we may step big toes all the way together, sink the hips, bend the knees, slide the ribs back, circle the arms high. And as we exhale, find our forward fold. Inhale, heart rising, reaching right leg back, left leg. So actually right leg forward, left leg back. Give yourself a little shift forward, little shift back. And we may take that left hand wide to the left, reaching right arm up in the air. So finding our way into a twist, a lunge twist. Cycling that top arm overhead, locate your blocks. Perhaps we tap, tap left foot in a bit, extend front leg closer to straight. So we may be rolling that right hip back. Maybe we put a little more bend back in front knee. Perhaps we wiggle that left foot back leg further back, lunge bend into the front knee, climb the hands up that front thigh. If it's more comfortable to keep the back heel lifted or back knee on the ground, please feel free to do so. We may have hands on hips, fanning right toes. We may raise the arms. Consider bringing hands back to the hips, elbows pointing back, weaving fingers together. We may extend the arms. We may slide right ribs inside right thigh, taking bound arms overhead. Rebending elbows, let the hands find the blocks or the ground. Peel the back heel up, starting to raise that left leg, the back leg up in the air. Bending the knee, draw left knee alongside the right. Let both feet land, sink the hips, bend the knees, circle the arms high, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, heart rising for real, right leg back this time. So find a little shift, forward back. We may reach that right arm wider to the right. And we may raise left arm, maybe left hand, left thigh, or up in the air. And cycling that left arm up and over, finding your props. If needed, tap, tap that right foot in a bit. Working left leg, front leg closer to straight. And maybe we move forward and back until we find the perfect spot. Rolling right hip forward, left hip back, neck long, jaw soft. Please know you can stay right here. We may wiggle heel toe that right foot, the back foot a little further back, lunge bending into that front knee. Hands may find the thigh, perhaps hands find the hip back, heel may rise. Fan the left toes, find balance. The arms and gaze may rise. And we may stick with this variation or bring hands back to the hips, roll the elbows back. We may be reversing the cross of the thumb if we're breathing the hands together and extending the arms. Perhaps sliding left ribs, inside left thigh, bound arms, moving overhead. And eventually letting the hands release back to the blocks or back to the floor. If you'd like to lift the hips higher, reduce the distance between the legs, please do. So we're loading that left leg, reaching back leg, right leg up in the air, bending the knee, drawing right knee alongside the left, Let that right foot land, tipping in. Sink the hips, bend the knees, circle the arms high. Exhale, thumbs to brow, thumbs to heart. So if you're at the top short edge of the mat, take a moment and step out wide. And maybe we just drop off a block at either end of the mat. So I'm going to mirror in this orientation. Let's pivot right toes towards the short edge of the mat. Lunge, bend into front knee. Rise back up. Please feel free to repeat this as often as you would like. So we might find a spot where we stack shoulders over hips and open both arms out to a T, peering, gazing over to the right. What's that right knee doing? Is it tipping in? And we roll it back and open. And let's hug the arms back in, pivot right foot in, left foot out, and just try out that lunge on this side. So lunge, extend, maybe adjust the location of your block. Your toes are running into it. And as you feel ready, finding the spot where we're holding. What's happening with the knees? Caving in, roll it back and open. Let's re-extend the leg, pivot the toes in, right toes back towards the short edge of the mat. Find that lunge position, tip, lean to the right, maybe hand on a block. Extending the leg. And if you would like to bend and extend a few more times, please do. Rolling left hip on top of right, unlock that front knee. Perhaps reaching left arm up in the air. To rise up, we may bend back into front knee. If you've only got the one prop, take it with you. We'll rise on up, pivot right toes in, left toes out. Find that lunge. How are things feeling on this side? So we'll make our way perhaps down, finding the block, re-extending the leg, perhaps unfurling top arm. Bending back into left knee. We'll make our way back up, pivot the toes forward, and perhaps the feet have been sliding, so we might heel toe in a little bit, step the feet up to the short edge of the mat, right foot forward, left foot navigates back. So we're lunge bending into that front knee. Maybe we lengthen the distance between the legs or shorten, roll right hip back. Let the left arm rise. Rotating, twisting over towards the right. We might place that left hand on right knee. We may place left forearm on right knee. We might find the block, put the hand on the block and extend that right leg. Rolling right hip back, right arm may rise. Perhaps we wrap the right arm behind the back, rolling the head of the shoulder back. Rebend front knee, look down, square the chest. We'll gradually rise on up, stepping left foot forward, shift out anything that needs it. Left foot stays forward. Right foot navigates back. So the heel perhaps dropping down as we bend into front knee. Right arm rising, rotating, twisting over towards the left. No hurry. Hand to thigh, forearm to that opposite thigh. Maybe hand on a block. We might take that hand block wider to the right, working left leg closer to straight as we rotate, as we twist. We may unfurl that top arm. We may wrap that top arm behind the back. Perhaps looking down, bending into that front knee, square the chest, rising back up and pivoting the feet back towards the long edge of the mat. And we may play with that balance, a little shift forward, a little shift back. Angling big toes in a smidge, draw up on the fronts of the thighs so there's a contraction and engagement of the thighs. We may tip back, find a bit of a back bend. And as we exhale, hinging forward. So perhaps we want to bend the knees a lot. Hands coming down, maybe onto blocks, maybe onto the ground. And perhaps we rise back up, gliding the hips a little bit side to side. Getting into those inner thighs a little bit more. Check out the toes. Are they digging in? Can we lift, fan, and release the toes? So this is a wide-legged forward bend. And at your own rhythm, come halfway up so that you're able to heel toe the feet in until they're about hips distance apart. Bending knees, forearms to thighs, let the hips sink. Slowly, gradually bringing the head higher until you feel ready to come to stand. So some of us tend towards being lightheaded. So the slower we can come up, it tends to help. So let's consider a one-legged balance. Feel free to move to a wall, put your hand on a wall or something very sturdy. Weight down into that left foot, I'm mirroring. Let's bring the right knee up to the chest. Give that knee a boost. Shoulders back and down, left thigh back. Let the focus settle on something that won't move. We might challenge the balance, adding some ankle twirls. We may open that right knee up to the right, left hand to the hip, or perhaps expanding left arm out to the left. Maybe we turn the gaze to the left, finding a new focal point to the left. Let's move back to the middle, and perhaps we reach that right leg forward. Keep rolling, left thigh back, crown of the head high. Rebend, release. Shift it out. Toes fan. Weight in right foot, left heel rising. When you're ready, second thigh. Moving that knee up to the chest. Maybe this side's a little different. Maybe the floor is a little different. Perhaps we're twirling the ankle. We might fall out of it. We'll just come back in if we do. We may hold the knee, open the knee out to the side. We might open right arm to the side. We may look to the right. Coming back to the middle, consider scooping under the leg and extending the leg. Reach out through the foot, right thigh back, crown of the head high. Rebend, and with as much control as possible, release, and just shift it out. Take a little walk. So let's try one more of those. Again, feel free to use the wall if you like. So we might just shift a little side to side before going on to that one foot. Left toes wide. Heel, right heel up. Option to turn the knee out. Now, I'm exaggerating it, but often straight leg, like we're standing on, we jut that hip out. Bring the hip under the shoulder and invite that leg higher. Maybe we put it on a block, a chair. Maybe we reach down, lift that leg up a little higher still. Hands could be on hips. If it helps more with balance, you might take the arms to a T. We may roll the shoulders back and let your tree canopy rise. Perhaps the gaze rises. And perhaps a breeze comes along and we lean our tree over towards that up knee. We may gradually rise back up with the hands. Drift down. We're a deciduous tree, hands to the hips. Let that knee move forward, reach out, rebend, release. Shift it out. So fan those right toes, maybe a little shift forward and back. Peel the heel up, knee out to the side. And maybe we're already kind of jutting the hip out. Slide it under the shoulder and invite that leg higher or lower. If we always go to the same height, maybe we challenge ourselves to go a little higher or lower. Find a new spot for you for today. Rolling the knee back, palms to the heart, to the hips. Maybe reach the arms out wide. And we may roll the shoulders back and the arms may rise. Perhaps the heart and gaze are rising. We might have a back bending tree. Perhaps we're finding that tip lean over towards that up knee. We'll slowly, slowly rise up if we went for side bending tree, letting the hands perhaps move back wide to the heart, to the hips. Where does it help you with the balance in this moment? Knee forward, reaching out, rebend, release. Take a little walk, shift it out. And perhaps we place that left hand on the wall and navigate that right foot back. We might bend the right knee and hold on to the foot, point the knee down to the ground. Maybe left hand is off the wall. The left arm could rise. So we can stick with this variation. We might bend into the left knee and press that right foot into the right hand. Again, it helps to fix your gaze on something that won't move. We'll rise back up, take your time to release, and maybe we're just turning around so that we can put the other hand on the wall. Stepping toes back, pelvis forward, so we have a back bend, that bit of a banana shape. We may bend the knee, we may hold the foot, pointing knee down. Appreciating the stretch in the front of the hip, the front of the thigh. We do not have to go anywhere else. But maybe we are. Maybe we're raising the arm, bending, standing knee, and pressing floating knee into the hand. Take your time to rise back up, release, shift out anything that needs it, and let's find our way back to the top short edge of the mat. And perhaps we bring big toes all the way together this time, knees very gently touching in front. Circle the arms up as we tuck the ribs back, exhale, tipping down into a forward fold. So we may walk it back into dog. Perhaps pedaling the dog, perhaps coming right into child's pose. And we may slide that left knee forward, landing on that left shin. Right toes may stay tucked. We might wiggle that right leg a little further back. And notice if we're tipping, if we're leaning a whole lot over to the left. Maybe we need to bend the right knee and point it out to the right. Maybe we just want to do that. We may be able to shift that right hip more right, but maybe not without a wedge. So you could grab something, a blanket, a towel, maybe a block, and wedge it underneath that right hip. We may find a little wiggle and bring the forearms down to the ground. Perhaps we're pointing right foot. We may find the block and let the brow rest on the block. Giving yourself time to settle in. So make any adjustments needed so that you can be here a little longer. Consider beginning or thinking about rising, shoulders back up over hips. So we may tip left. We may slide that right knee forward and place the right heel in front of the top of that left foot. If that just doesn't feel right, let that left leg reach out long. So we may be twisting to the right. And if that just feels like a closed door, go ahead and twist to the left. Twist towards the open door side. We will gradually unwind the twist, and perhaps we grab a couple of blocks, and this is just for fun. You can have your hands on the floor if you like. Blocks, I think, make it a little more fun. So we might have that right ankle crossed in front of the left. We may press down into the hands and lift the bottom up. Shoulders stay out of the ears. The heels may rise. The toes may rest. Release, coming back down. And we'll think about finding that pigeon on the second side, but if after that the wrists just need a little care, maybe we flex. We may flex and bring the hands to the ribs or the backs of the thighs. So let's roll on forward. Navigate back into that down dog position. And let the neck lengthen. Breathing around the shoulders, tractioning the back. And perhaps we're sliding that right shin forward and sliding, navigating left foot back. Feel free to bend left knee out to the left. Feel free to point left foot, but notice if we're just tipping all the way over to the right. We might find a little shift, a little adjustment, and maybe find your block starting to come down, perhaps onto forearms, supporting the brow. It does not need to be your deepest variation right away, or at all even. You are welcome to stay here a while longer. We may be thinking about bringing shoulders over hips, tipping to the right, and lifting the left foot in front of the right. And again, feel free to extend that right leg if that's a better variation. So we may drop that left sits bone back and twist to the left. But again, if you went the other way last time, head to the right, the open door side this time. And we'll gradually unwind left ankle on top of or in front of right, and perhaps we're grabbing blocks on their lowest setting, their lowest height. Press into the hands, shoulders low, hips up, heels up, perhaps toes up, and releasing back down. And if the wrists want a little reprieve, flex, cluster, maybe hands somewhere on the body to enhance that. And let's bring ourselves back down onto back body. So as we bring ourselves down, make sure that you can still reach a block. Tilt the tailbone down so we have a little bit of hollow in the low back. Open the arms out to a cactus position, palms face up, shoulder blades slide down the back, toes fan. Press into the feet, invite the hips to rise. We're reaching forward through the knees. And then slowly, slowly, slowly releasing down the back. Feel free to repeat that with the arms the same, or bring the elbows alongside the ribs, shoulders down, hips rising. Pressing down into the ground, into the soles of the feet. Maybe fingertips start to point towards the heels. And releasing down. Consider finding a block, pressing down into the elbows, toes fan, hips rise. Block on its lowest or maybe the medium setting. Let the hips settle. Now, if you have the really squishy block, stick with the lowest setting. They tend to collapse a little too much if you have the very, very soft blocks. And if you try out medium and just a little too intense, go ahead and drop it down. Give yourself a moment to acclimate. Consider raising both feet off the ground. We may dust off the feet. We might pull the knees into the chest and use the edge of the block as a massage tool around the tops of the hips, the low back. Could be a figure 8, can be a back and forth motion. Again, tuning to what feels right in your body. So the arms may open wide and the legs may rise. Let the eyes rest. Feeling the flow of the breath. Perhaps we track the breath count. 8 to 10 full inhalations and exhalations. And after that final exhalation, let the legs move a little wider apart. Let the knees bend. Let those inner ankles move back in just a little closer together without touching, maybe a little wiggling through the toes. Tuning into those sensations in the feet, the lower legs. And let one foot land at a time. One foot, perhaps feel the texture of the mat. Second foot landing. Let the body sigh, settle, supported by the block, by the ground. Let the belly unwind. We may be noticing those internal currents, the pulsation. We may be bending elbows and adjusting the hands to the block that supports the hips. No need to turn the head, no need to move with any haste. Stepping each foot in a little closer to the block, lift, bend, and release the toes. Pressing into the feet with only enough effort to hover the hips. Glide the hips to one side. Glide the hips to the other side. Let's find the middle, give a little sway, and then land the hips a smidge left. Just a tiny bit. And we may place a couple of blocks over to the right, maybe a stack of blankets or a pillow. Let's rock both knees, both thighs into the chest. And tip the knees over to the right. So you might want that wedge to build the forearm, especially if that low back is sensitive. The right hand may serve as an anchor. You may prefer to expand one or both arms or bend the elbows. You may encircle the right wrist with the left hand and draw the left elbow out to the left, maybe a little bit up on the diagonal. Remember that you are welcome to stay here as long as you like. We may be rocking the knees back to the middle. Place the feet down, let the hips rise, and move just a tiny bit to the right. Rocking the knees back into the chest. If and when you feel ready, letting the knees roll over to the left, to that second side. Check in with your arm position. Maybe you're switching grip with the wrist. Finding fullness of breath. Breathing into the top side ribs, the back ribs. Staying a while longer if you like. We may be navigating the knees back to center. Find that little rock through the hips. Let the feet land. Center the hips for a moment, feet wide, knees tipping in. Ask yourself if this is your preferred resting position for now. If you happen to have a bolster, it could just be a big cushion, it might be a folded stack of blankets. You might try an alternative position. So we may slide the hips to one side and only coming up with enough effort to find the props if you're choosing to try this. So this is just a yoga bolster, but you can do it with folded blankets or sofa cushion. So you might choose to come towards a child's pose. There's more than one way to do this. You can reach out so that it's a supported child's pose on the bolster, turning the head to one side. But if turning the head, the neck, that's just not the thing for now, you might kind of think more about the massage table face cradle. We'll expand the body, will go long over the bolster instead. And we may crisscross the forearms. So you need to scooch forward enough that you can release the brow onto the forearms. So whichever position you've chosen, just take a few moments to settle in. It absolutely does not have to be child's pose. It does not have to be on your belly. You may prefer to be on your back body. And maybe the legs are sliding long. Perhaps the prop goes underneath the knees. Eyes at rest. You're welcome to rest here as long as you like. We may be deepening the breath. Returning movement to toes, to ankles. We may reach long up through the arms, down through the legs, and exhale, releasing. We may step the feet in, tip rolling to one side. And supporting yourself back to a seat, maybe bringing that second favorite leg on top or in front. Sitting with the breath. Perhaps rubbing palms together, placing a hand to the belly, a hand to the heart. Sealing our practice with sound. Deep inhale in through the nose. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing this practice. Please let me know if you have any questions.